Those pictures that I showed y'all in the beginning of this message, those were pictures and videos from when I took my kids to a flea market, and because I had this vision to want to share what I've experienced and how it changed my life, which was starting to eat fruits and vegetables more and more. And, the universe gave me this idea and gave me the people around me to help me do it, and I did everything in my power to include my kids and let them plant that seed in them while they were younger. So sooner or later, it'll pop back up in their head at some point in time, right? But it was called Creators Eat to Live, and that's why, the title of this message is You Are the Greatest Book You Need to Study, and not just study it, master it, Don't just go for I'm Miss Goody Two Shoes, meaning just the light. Embrace the dark too, because whenever you only focusing on the light aspect of you, meaning the knowledge, the awareness of what you already know, then the ignorance, meaning the dark, the part of you that you don't know yet, will catch you off guard. So you got to be open to both light and dark. Because remember, like I always say, the universe, the divine is both light and dark, only influencing and coming into your reality to help you become the best you can be. But see, it's like, if you're looking over here at this person's test while you're being tested, you may get the right answers from off his or her paper, but when it comes down to the next challenge, you get left behind because it was never in you. You got it from somebody else, right? So, those pictures was about me include my family. I call all of them my family, and it was a great experience. It didn't last too long because during the time when I did it, the awareness of that community wasn't there yet, and you had some people that was there getting it and some that wasn't. But I was spreading myself thin at that time too, because at that time I had the warehouse with the truck and stuff going. That's why y'all see the vans in the background. But on my spare time, I would always keep trying to create where my heart was at. And my heart was always on knowing thyself, but I didn't have many people around me that reflected that. So it's like I was the light in the dark. And you know how it is. If you put a king in a circus, he'll be the clown, right? You put a wise man amongst fools, or amongst people that lack knowledge, then that wise man becomes the fool or the one that seemed to lack knowledge. And it kind of was like that, right? Not downing nobody. It just is what it is. I always was the type, after a certain age, I think when I became I hit my 30s, I started really getting into listening to books and meditating and really getting into it. But at the time I had addictions like marijuana. You know what I'm saying? That was really my biggest addiction, was marijuana, because I was numbing my pain because I was never able to talk to my mother about things that I felt she could have helped me through based on just a conversation. But she would always neglect it, right? And not just her, father too. He to him too. He can get some too, right? But it's all love now, because if they didn't turn their back on me when it came down to my emotional healing, my childhood trauma, I would have never turned to God, because I didn't have nobody else. I had nobody else, and it forced me to read books and look at videos and all these influencers, until God turned me into my own influence. I am my greatest influence now. When these messages come through me, I don't just put this camera down and then that's it. I go and I look at these messages, like this message that's coming through me right now. I probably look at this 20, 30 times today after, because I always hear something that when as I'm channeling this information, I have to go back and listen, because I really don't be knowing all the way what I have said, right? So I am my biggest influencer. The same way you should be your biggest influencer, because you got to understand that you are a mansion, but you also the maid that keeps the mansion clean. Yes, you as the maid, you can go out of the house and shop and go do whatever you want to do, but make sure you come back to the mansion and make sure it's cleaned up, so that when the head of the house comes back home, that it comes home to a clean environment, an environment that is godly, balanced with light and dark, right? Where everything is equally yoked in it. It's no shaking, you know. I like to tell people this: when things are not right, it's like a boiling pot of water. You can't see your reflection. But when you got your life and your heart and mind in coherence, is balanced, now when you look at that boiling pot of water, you see your reflection. So if you look out into your reality right now and you can't see through the people, places, and things then you need to come back to the creator of it, which is you. Okay, that's why a lot of times before we can paint the portrait we want, we have to grab a whole new canvas, a blank piece of canvas, and that may look like in your life leaving everybody behind that are not trying to go where you're trying to go. Leave all these places and things that you were doing behind, right? Leave the world behind, because you got work to do. And see, as you become that philosopher's stone, as you become that wine that was once water, it's going to take you studying yourself. It ain't going to matter about a person that come with all this knowledge and say stuff like, oh, y'all used to be, we the Indians, or we was a tribe of this, or this. None of that don't matter. None of that matter. What matters is your life and what you've been through and how you tend to overcome each challenge that the universe has given you. Stop being influenced and causing your mental state to be clogged up with information, right? Ain't information is what they call something that causes a disease or a dis-ease. If you got too much information that is not serving the body, then it works against you instead of for you. Can I get an amen? So the only information you need to be intaking is the information from your past that can help you in your present to propel you in your future. And the only way you can do that is stay in the present moment and observe what your mind, body, and soul is telling you. Like this rising, I got up, I pull all the covers out the bed, the pillowcases, everything. And I said, I'm going to wash these covers and everything up this morning. I'm going to finish washing up my clothes from the weekend, work clothes, and my regular clothes. And I'm going to make sure I get all this done before I go to work this evening. I might not go to the gym. I might just go to this rose garden and lay this message out that the divine got for me to share. Then something tell me, no, stop neglecting the body. Go to the gym. Yeah, you might not want to go to the gym. Your lower self don't want to do that today. But I need you to overpower that. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. This is how I talk to myself, family. And this is on a daily basis. This ain't just no sometimes. I'm talking to myself all the time, even if it's not out loud, but it's within. And I'm always motivating myself to do the things that I may not want to do until them things I didn't want to do become the lifestyle. It become like breathing, right? It's amazing when you become your own Dexter's Laboratory. Y'all remember that cartoon? When you start to know that you are a laboratory and you got to work the laboratory by going in to work. You got to go to work, right? If you don't go to work, you can stay outside the job and say you do this and do that all day long. But nothing will change in your environment if you're outside the job and thinking that you're working. It don't work that way, family. The only way out is in. Right? So, yeah, I shared those pictures in the beginning of this message. to motivate someone, man. It don't matter how small it is, man, you know. And right now, I'm on a journey of more and more in depth of self-discovery, more and more on learning how to control my reality by following my heart, you know. And as long as you stay in your heart, it's like the universe is constantly moving you and having you do things. But I told a young lady this right here before I let y'all go. I was at Walmart yesterday getting a money order to pay rent, and the lady, I went to use one of my credit cards to get one of the money orders, and she was like, oh no, it got to be debit card. So then I had to get another one of a different bank card that I got. I had to get to go ahead and pay it. I'm like, okay, no problem, you know. So I grabbed another card and I got it. And I'm like, well, I'm glad, you know, I'm disciplined, because what if I lacked discipline and wasn't able to pay my rent? I didn't have that because I concentrated on this credit card right here or that credit card. And she was like, yeah, I lack discipline. So right then and there, I know, oh man, here we go. The universe got me up. All right, what you gonna do? Are you gonna give some light in darkness, or are you gonna get in your ego and act like you better than her? So immediately I've been like, well, you know, at one time, you know, I was the same way. I lacked discipline too, and it caused me a lot of pain and struggling. But the discipline I lacked was not knowing how to take care of myself first, and I would always try to help other people outside me, and it would have me lack in the end, and then I wouldn't even be able to call on them people that I had once helped, right? And she'd be like, man, I just moved and I just been through that, you know. But you know, and I told her I had to get off of cigars because I had to realize that wasn't really helping me. And she said, well, I can't leave my marijuana alone. I'll have to get my marijuana. I said, well, the thing is, when I once smoked marijuana, I noticed that it became a codependency. I was dependent on it. I wake up in the morning, I needed it to eat before I eat. When I go to bed at night, I need to smoke it before I go to sleep. I mean, it really had a hold on me. And she was like, yeah, I'm kind of like that too. I said, well, you codependent on it, right? And she was like, yeah, I'm working though, I'm trying, you know. And I got off cigarettes. I said, well, look, I ain't putting too much pressure on you at all. Take your time, but don't fool yourself to think that you are changing when you're not. You know, truly change, you know. And I told her, another lady was standing there listening to her, and I always feel, you know, that's God listening in to see how you gonna handle the situation. God is amazing, y'all. So I said, well, let me tell you how I got off of the marijuana. I replaced it with going to the gym. And then, say for instance, if it's something else that I start to get addicted to, say you get addicted to TV shows. Well, instead of watching TV shows, pick up a book that you're interested in when it comes down to your path. Don't just read a book to read it. Let it be something that influences your journey and makes you better at what you're aiming at. And that'll pull your way. Anything that you replace a lower vibration with, it got to be with a higher vibration. It got to be something that supersedes that entity that you were once in. Like the saying go, you can't heal where you were hurt. You can't go at a situation or try to change a situation from the same perspective or from the same standpoint. In order for your circle to stance, the circle that you're standing in, to change, you got to get out of that circle and build a new one. So when I told her that, the young lady beside her, which she was an older lady, she was like, wow, that's some great advice. You know, you change and you let go of bad habits by replacing it with a good habit. That I'm gonna put that in my book. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. You know, so I wanted to share that with you all, man. If you're going through something like that right now, you know, to let go and let God is to take your hand off of it and then allow God to give you a higher perspective. And the higher perspective may not be comfortable, and it may not be agreeable. Everybody may not agree with it, but those ones that don't agree with you growing and elevating, they're not for you. They have served their purpose. So a lot of times when you start to grow, you know, yeah, people gonna start complaining because you're starting to wake up and you're gonna let go. You're not gonna be the people pleaser no more. You're not gonna be the one that can just be called and can talk about a bunch of junk all day. And see, whenever you're not available for that, people get mad because now they have nobody to go to. Because see, God start to block their ways. and make them come to him. And most don't want to come to God because God is about getting right. I call God that get right, right? And most don't want to get right. They just say it. So I hope that message helps somebody today. You know, be the light in the dark. And the only way you can be the light in the dark is by you facing the dark and overcoming the dark and using it as a message to help somebody else in a very kind and loving way, right? The ones that have been to hell and back, we're not scared of hell. We have overcome hell, and now we're just here to help others get through it too. Because the time we're coming into is not a time that this world has ever seen before. So focus on yourself until the focus is on you. No matter how long it may take, be that rose that grows through that concrete. Like Tupac said, be the rose that come through the concrete. Be the one that made it out. Even though that one that made it out, everybody talk about. Be that one. Be that one. That's the message, family. That's the message. But like always, family, I never go with the flow. And you shouldn't either. We are here to create the flow. The divine flow of love, light, and truth, right? Which will bring balance to all. So be your biggest influencer today, family. But until the next message, one love.